A lot of people are wrong about the signing of Dominic Solanke. People aren't seeing the true reason for him signing and why it was always part of Ange's plan to bring a player like him in. And we need to answer why people aren't seeing the full picture here, why this was always the plan for Ange, and how Solanke changes this Tottenham team. Last season, Dominic Solanke had the best season of his career. 19 goals and 3 assists made him joint 4th in the top scorers chart, level with Phil Foden and Ollie Watkins. So why do I keep seeing people questioning Tottenham's acquisition of him? From players who played in the bottom half last season, Solanke scored the most goals by quite a distance. Only Chris Wood with 14 and Mateus Cunha with 12 got anywhere near close to him. So let's talk goal scoring qualities. When this signing was announced, I quickly saw people suggesting that the fee was too much and that he's no better than Ivan Toney or Calvert-Lewin. But the point here is not about who's better. This game against Luton is a great example of why I deem this to be the case. Ryan Christie has the ball. He has there's just been a short corner. And Dominic Solanke is right here. And what he does really, really well is that he utilises his body language and he's comfortable. And I think the big thing to say about Solanke is that he is not just some kid anymore. He is a fully blown man. I think that's fine. He's happy to use that physicality, enjoys that physicality, whilst having the ability to be multi-dimensional. We'll come back to that. But here he's got his back to goal. But in doing this, he's actually pinning the defender, meaning that it's easier for him to receive the ball due to his body being between him and the defender and the ball, of course. So whilst the ball doesn't actually come to him initially, Solanke is still occupying that defender. That means he's in control of his situation. And also other players will think, okay, that's your man, that's your marker. So again, an element of control there when Solanke does receive the ball. And because of that, he's able to use the defender's body weight against him whilst he takes the ball down. He does exactly that. As he's able to get the ball, it hits his chest, he's able to bring it down and keep that distance between the two. But he's still got a huge problem to deal with, and that is, how does he turn and get a shot away considering the bodies that are between him and the goal? And just generally have that willingness to even give that a go. Because that's the difference between him and other strikers, is that another striker would like, take a touch, lay it off. That's the end of it. But he doesn't do that. He gets the ball down, under control, in the penalty area, understanding the player that's on him, so he's got a lot to think about there, but also understanding that he is in the penalty box. So if someone wants to dive in, that's going to be a dangerous thing as well. And if we move it on a little bit further, you see what he does brilliantly is he's able to bring it down, and then he's able to do this incredible little quick turn and get past those players. And it's the quick feet, the ability to be strong, turn quickly, get into that space. That's what gets him this goal. It's a fantastic goal, and it shows that he's not just a big oaf up top. He's so much more than that. But goal scoring is one thing. And despite how strange this sounds, sometimes goal scoring isn't enough. And when you consider the team that he's joining and the way they play, you need to be looking at the bigger picture. It's got to be more than that, mate. And to do this, we've got his passing networks. Criticism that often gets thrown at Haaland is that he doesn't contribute to the play enough. But in this graphic, you can see in turquoise, you've got our boy Solanke. You see that he's always got bodies around him and that he also combines with the wider players frequently. This is promising, I think, for not only Son and Brennan Johnson, but also, very crucially, look at that AM, attacking midfielder, James Maddison. I think James Maddison is really going to enjoy it. Let me show you exactly why. So Kirkes has the ball right here, as you can see. He's got his head up and he's looking for you-know-who, because he knows something that none of the Man United players have seen yet, that Solanke is always available and he's comfortable to receive the ball. But I think there's a humility about this guy because of the journey that he's had to take, that he wants to contribute, he wants to help. And this is why Maddison could benefit so much from Solanke's arrival. Solanke peels off here. You see him get the ball. But once he gets the ball, he looks to lay the ball off. And he does that. He lays the ball off to Ryan Christie. Ryan Christie knows that ball is coming as well. It's simple play. It's effective play. Yes, Man United's midfield could be a bit more... there could be a few more bodies in there. But what happens next, I think, is very interesting from Solanke perspective. But also a Tottenham perspective as a whole. Because Solanke does what most strikers don't do. Most big men don't do. They don't peel wide. They don't make that penetrative run afterwards down the sides. And what this does, it makes it very difficult for that back line, but it also gives options for movement, but also for Christie in this case, it would be Maddison down the line. But because Solanke came deeper to play and lay it off, it also allows 2 Bournemouth players to move into advanced positions, which leaves a switch open as well. So one, you've got Solanke making this move, which makes it difficult for the centre-back as well, because he's concerned about that. That then, in turn, creates a bit of a distance between these 2 centre-backs. It also creates a new area of the pitch for another player to drive into that area, or in behind that player as well. And also that wide player all the way at the back can also make that pass. And by dragging these 2 across, if this was a 3rd-man run from this player, because of Solanke, what that means is that this switch into this area becomes far more tantalising and tempting. And there's that switch of play. And if that switch of play were to happen, with Dominic Solanke, of course, spinning round, all of a sudden he is on the blind side of his centre midfielder as well. So it makes life very, very difficult by having this multi-dimensional, hard-working, got the pace to go in behind, but got the ability to hold up the ball as well, that not many strikers in the Premier League have. Name me 5. Do it. This next example is a little bit more nuanced, but I think it's still really, really exciting in terms of what Solanke offers you in and around the box. Because, of course, it is about scoring goals. But link up in those tight areas as well is, again, I'm going to use that phrase one more time, multi-dimensional. That's what Solanke brings. So the ball is here. Again, I think it's Ryan Christie, and he's about to play a pass into Dominic Solanke. And he's not entirely got his back to goal. He's at a slight angle. And I think that's really interesting in terms of how he stood there. And it's really clever from Solanke. It's something Aguero used to do all the time. Because he's not showing his hand, which is very, very clever and subtle stuff from Solanke. But shows, I guess, if you think of that academy tutelage that he's had, it shows that his use of his body, his understanding of his movement is really clever. Because, yes, he can do that turn off and do that, go that way. And that sort of squares up the defender from one point of view. But the other one is just to pop it off, right? Just to lay it off, open your body, suck in that defender, who's now trying to get touch tight, but it's a little bit too late because he didn't really know initially. And that layoff comes, and you can imagine someone like Maddison whap-a-pa-pa-ing it into that bottom corner because he's got that quality. Expect to see this type of behaviour a lot because of something that we saw from Ange during his time at Celtic. So this is a map of every single shot that Solanke assisted last season. And then, got it? You got it in your head? Compare it with someone like Haaland. So whilst Haaland has got more assists, fair enough, you can see the volume of Solanke's shot assists are far, far greater. And add the caveat that he was playing in a team that created less chances. And you can see how valuable Solanke's dialogue with his teammates actually was. So you might remember way back when we made our first ever Ange Postecoglou vid. And we said that this is what an Ange striker looks like. The striker position 2 requires 2 things: technical ability and spatial understanding. Striker will often be dealt the task of sticking to the pivot throughout the match and be as much of a disruptor as possible. And Solanke offers something to Tottenham that not many other Premier League strikers ever could, and that is being the sacrificial striker at times. And how Solanke does this is something unique to him, and very possibly the reason for signing him, which takes us back to the very first image that we showed you in this video way back when. Where is she? There she is. And there he is. But first, we need to look at this graphic, which shows us where Solanke's defensive actions took place last season. So as you can see, they're dotted around the pitch with a large circular area of the middle of the pitch. But it's also the top of this area, which is really important from a Tottenham perspective. What this shows is that Solanke is fantastic at winning the ball high up the pitch, but also works so hard to do so. And another thing I want to add here, look, a lot of them in his own penalty box. That has been a massive problem for Tottenham last season, conceding from set pieces. Another big boy to get in the penalty box and stop some goals being scored, which is a massively underestimated element of a striker, and a striker with a bit of size. Look at Kai Havertz, for example. Let me show you Isak. And I'm not having a go at Isak, but it's different, right? And so to take a player like Solanke from a Bournemouth side who press the way they press, he comes into Tottenham and he's going to be fit enough. He's going to have the right attitude. He's going to understand of what he needs to do, which is work. And so when we come back to this moment, it shows why this exact moment probably made him the perfect striker choice for Tottenham, and in particular Ange. Because look at Solanke here. So Solanke, as we know, is right here. And once he gets that feeling that the ball is going to be played backwards to Botman, he immediately adjusts his body momentum and gets himself moving so that he can close down that space. He does that. And because of the positioning of Semenyo and Cliver as well, it means that Botman has to play the ball back to his goalkeeper. He's forced to play the ball backwards. So that already shows that, you've made them go backwards. That's great stuff. But again, we move it on one more. And let's be honest, most people don't press the goalkeeper. They feel like it's, that's the end of it now. You've kind of done your job. But he continues his press. And I think that's worth saying. Because pressing teams often won't target the goalkeeper. But this doesn't mean that you can't ever do it. Again, it's a bit of an attitude thing. Or also, fatigue makes cowards of us all. So if you've got it in your legs to go and do it, go and do it, So that decision then to press the goalkeeper, I just like that. I like that a lot. That's something that even, at home is going to get the crowd going. It's those little things that can make a difference, right? And Solanke did absolutely the right thing to do so because of what happened next. There was a slip from Dubravka, and he scores probably the easiest goal of his career. But the goal all came from being an intelligent presser initially, but also, having the guts to keep going. And I think that's an enormous part as to why Tottenham have made the decision to sign him and why no one else would fit the brief as well as Dominic Solanke will.